Hi guys, it's a new year, and with this new channel, I'm really excited for this first video to be in collaboration with the Dancing Soap Dish and a few others that like to make soap using this method. Thank you, Samantha, for organizing this really fun event. I have a true respect for all of you that do these YouTube tutorials, because before bringing video editing into the mix, these projects have been second nature to me, but as soon as the camera came into the equation, it still seems beyond my grasp to do it as seamlessly as you guys do. And since this is my first video, it's far from seamless, so buckle your bootstraps because this is going to be a bumpy ride for sure. I'm all over the board here. I thought I was more organized, but this is a little bag of tree embeds, and I was showing you that yellow piece of soap. Don't know why, but I'm using it for more embeds. So what I do is I just take and chop it up into little tiny pieces, and I do multiple shades of green. There's the tree trunk. I use that from a mold. Sometimes I make the tree trunk, but in this instance I'm using a mold. Maybe that's a video for another day. But for today, this is how I do my leaves. And you'll see that little mess up there in the middle on the right. That's an overpour and way too hot. So just remember, with any embeds, you're going to want to keep your temperatures, down below 130. So I'm not really giving you measurements right now because I do these in a bulk, my leaves of the tree. And so that little baggie you saw earlier, I'll have that for lots of projects. And for these embeds, when I'm pouring, I like to keep the green part a little bit above the pour level just for texture reasons. And you'll see how I go about the process as I go. So I'm going to slow things down a little bit, and you see me pointing at a few things. So those little red dots, those are the apples. I take a pipette and I don't know, maybe 6 inches off the silicone mat, which is what my working surface is, and just drop it on until I get a shape I like. Then I just peel them off and use them. So then I've got little flowers you see over to the right of the screen. That's a mat that I use for the leaves of the daffodil. The first part I have to pour at an angle, in case I link this to you, just so you can get that part filled, and then the rest you can just fill level. That little cavity in there is for those daffodils that you see up above in the middle. And oh gosh, I found that little mold on Etsy. It's so cute and so much detail. You'll see lots of projects from me in the future. And you can't really see the detail, but it's just beautiful. And next project, I'll even be doing a little hand painting. Okay, let's see. And so it looks like I've done a repeat of this same scene that I just showed before. So this will give me a second to talk a little bit about what I have in front of me. Those green and blue pieces, those are from a previous soap, so I don't like to waste. And the green will be used for the ground cover, and the blue will be used for the sky. That is Mad Micah's Daydream, mixed with a little bit of clear, just it was some overage, and I will be mixing it with some different blues between the night sky and the day sky. More detail there. So you'll see the suns and the moons, and you'll see them placed later. So this is where I start out with my first pour, and that would be a clear layer. It just gives it a nice smooth finish. It doesn't have to be done, but I just noticed it is a nicer improvement on the soap. The finished presentation in the very beginning before it's used by the person who receives it. So I'm pointing out the moons and I guess ciphering the placement of them. Moving forward with the detail work of the daffodil leaves. It's just using the X-Acto knife just to make them look the way I want. I just do it randomly and fiddle around with it until I'm happy with the outcome. And that looks pretty good. It's starting to look good. And then you'll see me place the flower on top. compare it with another soap I made for reference. Now I'm dickering around with the leaves of the tree. You'll probably see me do that quite a bit until I get it just so. It takes a little bit of finesse to make it fit right where you want it. And that's the fun part for me, really. So, sorry about the camera angle. Still haven't got that quite squared away, but we're getting there. So you'll see a little bit more later. But now I'm going to jump into more detail on the daffodils that go on the front of the soap. Just a little more finessing, checking out where everything goes. So prepping for the green ground cover, and I'm using Mad Mica's Lush Green mixed in with this other color, which is, I believe, Grasshopper Green. It makes for a nice variation of different greens throughout the project. And here I'm focusing on this beat up looking thing, and it's called a seam gauge. I'm a seamstress, and this I found really handy utilizing in my soap projects. I use them for measuring, scoring, you name it. I use it for so many things that you'll see throughout my projects. And here we go. Right now I'm getting ready to pour some green. It already has a layer of clear. And if you'll notice, I'm using a little bit different color than the leaves of the daffodil and the leaves of the tree. And you'll want to do that when you're choosing your own colors for your project, because the variation gives it a little more character and a little more realism. I use just a dab of clear just to put them in place. And it's just sort of making things work as I go. In hindsight, I probably should have poured some clear on top of this before placing the sun and the moon. So hindsight is 2020. So it took me a minute to figure out why I was showing the backs of these soaps, but what I'm making here that I was just doing a second ago, that I'm punching around on, that's actually the back side of the soap. I'm using a little bit of some blue that I already had left over from another project. I don't like to waste, so I'm using a little bit of, that looks like Pool Party, and the other one is, I believe, Daydream. Staying a little bit light. I might have mixed, it looks like I mixed a Twilight in for the evening soap, and then Pool Party in with the mixture of the Daydream. Makes a nice color combination. And this now is just going to turn into a little bit of a mess, but it'll all go away once I get the sky poured to where we're ready for the tree and the other set of flowers. Here I'm pouring the grass, so it looks consistent all around. And that moon looks terrible, but it won't. I'll be putting another little piece on top when I do the next fill. So here's the back side. Looks pretty good. No complaints. And here we go. Putting on another layer of the sky. I poured up level to the sun and moon embed. And now this is showing me just doing a little bit of surgery on the leaves of the tree. And you'll notice that 1 second you'll see that moon look great, and then 1 second it looks like it does right now. But in a minute it will show the piece that I put on top, which will run through the entire soap. So here you see I'm sculpturing the middle section of the tree, and I like to do it in little pieces. It just gives it more dimension and detail in the final end result. And you see me staging the tree. Then I set it aside when I'm getting ready for the next pour. I'll be putting them in place with a little bit of clear. So right now though, I will be using a little bit of the green grass just to get it so that the tree trunk won't slide around. So here you're going to see me prop the mold up when I pour the green ground cover. This will It just helps. I don't know how to explain it except that it also brings a little bit of the depth, so it'll raise the grass level up high, but not too high. So the sky and the grass just looks cohesive as a picture. So here I'm messing around with the flowers that will go on the front. I'll be doing a little bit of carving, which you won't see on the screen. And now I'm just doing the same thing I did on the back side, which is just placement until it looks right to me. And then I will be using just a little bit of clear to set things in place, and then another layer of the green grass. But meanwhile, I'm just tacking things in place with a little bit of clear. Then following that, I'm going to put a little bit of more ground cover on just to add more depth to the picture and make it look more realistic. So I just pour until I feel like it looks good and keep it propped up, either by hand or sitting like it is where it's at. And now we're on to the placement of the trees. We're on the last leg here. I'm using a seam gauge here, so my embeds aren't going to poke out when I do my pour. You'll notice I'm going to do a little bit of surgery there, but you see I was sliding it back and forth. I don't want them sticking out. It can, but I'd rather it not. So it's just a little balancing act, back and forth, playing with it, trimming pieces off that don't look right, measuring again, making sure nothing's poking out from the top. To me, that's really important, but it's just a matter of choice. It still would look good. So right now, you'll just watch me just fitting things into place the best they can, making sure it's not hitting above the pour line. And once I'm done with this, we're on the home stretch, and this is where I put the pretty flowers and apples down. And this is actually something that I hadn't done in my past tree projects, so it's kind of fun for me. Samantha said it looks like a camellia bush, and it didn't even occur to me, but she's absolutely right. Originally, I had it in my head that it was a magnolia tree because I have a memory in my head from Florida where I grew up, and these trees had these most amazing white flowers with luscious green leaves. But these are pink flowers on my tree, and the pink magnolias don't really have much green on the tree once they bloom. Thanks, Samantha, for pointing that out. It's now officially a camellia bush. So for this portion of the video, as well as a majority of the video, I've sped it up to 400%. And if I didn't, I'd be rambling forever, and the video would probably be close to 45 minutes long. I cut out all the melting of the soap, mixing of the soap, cutting the soap, but I just wanted to make sure you saw the entire process putting it together, even if it is going faster than the speed of light in some parts. And this actually gives me just a little bit of wiggle room to give a shout out to Samantha. Thank you so much for helping me with this project. It would have been a mess. I'll just be straight out and say that. So thank you very much, Samantha. I also want to say thanks to Terry. You've been really helpful with some tips and tricks here and there along this new journey for me. So in comparison to a video tutorial, in comparison to something that you see written on a piece of paper, there's just no comparison. This just helped me learn so much and got me to where I am right now. But as far as videos go, I strive to get where you guys are at. This one is definitely a chaotic mess, but it gets the point across, and hopefully somebody took something away from it. and you seasoned YouTubers probably got a good giggle. Okay, this is just a still shot, checking things out before I do the final pour, and I'm really happy with the results. Couldn't have really asked for more. And here I'm just weighing out what I need, just kind of by what I have weight-wise already, and what I need for both. And it looks like if I recall, I need a little more on one side than the other. And because I have the two hooked together, it's just a guesstimate. Which you're probably going to ask, why are you cutting into your molds like you do? It's pretty much because I like to work individually. I can generally do 2 at a time, but definitely not more than that when I'm doing these kind of landscape soaps. So here you're going to see me just pouring, and then if there's a little imperfection within the clear soap base, I'm just picking it out with the tweezers. And I didn't waste any time with all the middle stuff. So here it is when it comes out of the mold. I poured a little over, so it's messy, and in a minute you'll see what I do to clean it up. I use a planer. Looks good. No complaints. Cleaning up is easy, and this is what I'm doing now. I don't think there's much need for explanation, but hopefully you're seeing all angles of this soap, but you will see that it's a little messy on the top. Doesn't matter how clean you pour it, it just does it. And that's why I use a planer. I like to bevel the edges, just gives it that nice clean look, and I smooth it down until it looks the way I want it to. Now you see my process, and I will say from here on out you will not be seeing black mats when I'm doing this. It just doesn't matter how perfectly clean you keep your project space, it just is a mess. It looks like a mess, but I promise you, it's as clean can be. So I ordered some pretty colored silicone mats like you, Terry, because I notice it just doesn't show like this black mat does. Okay, so we're finishing up here. I forgot to have my little microfiber towel to smooth it even better, but I'm very pleased with the results of this. So this will show the final outcome picture-wise, and yeah, it turned out really cute. What a journey. So here it is, close-up shot. And I really don't have any complaints. Well, of course I do. I'm my own worst critic. But it turned out great. Okay, so we're at the end here, and I want to ask you, the audience, what do you want to see next? Okay, this is my plan. I want to do landscape column mold soap. I'm thinking desert theme. But I'd like to see what you think. Samantha suggested moon embeds, just because that seems to be something that a lot of you have asked about, and I'd love to teach you. Well, my friends, if you've made it to this point, this is where I want to tell you to check out the other links in this really cool collaboration. And I hope you stay tuned for the next video. It should be a little less chaotic. Thanks for watching.